Good evening. The following is a live broadcast for the City of Kingsport Board of Mayor and Aldermen. Board meetings are regularly scheduled on the first and third Tuesdays of each month at 7 p.m. In advance of the BMA meeting, a copy of the agenda is available for inspection at the Kingsport Public Library, City Hall, or online at kingsporttn.gov.
Good evening. I'd like to call the Board of Mayor and Alderman business meeting to order. Tonight is Tuesday, January 18th. The first order of business will be the Pledge of Allegiance, led by the New Vision Youth, and the youth leader is Miss Johnny Mae Swaggerty, and we appreciate all the work that you do in the community, Johnny Mae. And that'll be, please remain standing because after the pledge, we'll have the invocation led by Pastor Elizabeth Hamilton from the Mountain View United Methodist Church.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you will pray with me. Gracious Heavenly Father, we ask your blessing upon us here this evening, especially upon these men and women who have taken it upon themselves to lead our community. We pray that you will be with their business tonight. You will be with any issues that arise here in this place, that you will give them your leadership, your guidance, your countenance, that they will be able to call upon your name and know that you go forth. You are a great and merciful God. We thank you for the gift of today, the gift of this evening, and the gift of one another. Amen.
Please be seated. Pastor, thank you. We always need divine guidance. And thank you, youth.
Thank you.
Y'all don't want to stick around for all this excitement. Madam Recorder, please call the roll.
Mayor Schwell.
Here.
Vice Mayor George.
Here.
Alderman Cooper.
Here.
Alderman Duncan.
Here.
Alderman Montgomery.
Here.
Alderman Ulterman.
Here.
Alderman Phillips.
Here.
By my reckoning, all 7 elected members of the board are present. Before I turn this over to the city manager, let me recognize a special guest, County Commissioner, Miss Angie Stanley. Angie, thank you for coming. Well, I guess about 75% of your district's in Kingsport, something like that? Yes, sir. Yeah. Well, thank you for coming. Mr. City Manager, please proceed.
All right, we have 2 recognitions on the agenda tonight, and the first one will be led by Alderman Cooper. It's a recognition of our ground maintenance crew.
Okay. Christmas in the Park this year was a new event that we started in downtown Kingsport. The city staff, all the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, This is Kingsport, Visit Kingsport, and Downtown Kingsport partnered together to make this fun, festive event for our community. There were 27 trees donated by Home Depot that were placed in our park that were decorated by each of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, many city departments, chamber programs, and a few local organizations. This came about in just like a few weeks' time, and it was as we were brainstorming who would decorate the trees, we were wondering if we would get any pushback from some of the organizations or some of the departments that we asked, and it was just the exact opposite. Everybody joined in, and the ones that weren't asked to decorate trees were saying they were going to decorate a tree next year. So it was a fun event. The lights in the park were turned on starting on December the 4th during the parade and the tree lighting, and they ran through the January the 3rd. And if you went any night, there were people families out enjoying the trees and having their pictures made. So it was a very fun event for Kingsport. On December 17th, we had another festive event with caroling in the park that featured the Lamplight Theater carolers and a visit from our own Santa Claus and the Grinch, with free hot chocolate, candy canes, and ornaments. We expect this special event to continue in Kingsport for years to come. It was welcomed with such festive excitement that we know that it's going to last for many years. We want to say a special thanks to Lamplight Theater carolers, Billy Wayne, Daryl Duncan, to make the 17th a huge success. But without a few people, it wouldn't have happened. The city ground crew put in a lot of extra work making the event happen. They put the lights in all the existing trees. They lighted the pathways. They set up the trees several times. Every time a windstorm came, they had to go back and set the trees and stake the trees. But they put a lot of extra work on top of what they already did. Lots of times they would come in early in the morning before their regular shift to make sure that the lights worked correctly and that everything was working correctly. So we have a few people that we want to recognize. We saw some of our grounds crew people, Stephen Klein and Tamara Rossi. If you'll come forward, we'd like to recognize you. They worked diligently on their own tree. I came to one day to the park to decorate a tree, and they had a huge tree in the back, and they were apologetically saying, we put this tree in the very back. I said, no, you need to move that one to the front. It was the coolest tree because they decorated it with a lot of very unique ornaments that they created on their own. So we appreciate they had recycled this tree. I think this was the third location that the tree was in the park. So we really appreciate what they did and all they did. And they offered some really good advice for next year's Christmas in the park. So we want to say a thank you for all that you did. And also, we had an electrician, Carl Berry, that's not here with us today, and I know without him making sure that the electric grid could supply the electricity to all these trees, it wouldn't have happened either. So thank you, and we're going to give you, I moved them. I was going to give you an ornament, but there is. Here they are.
Yep.
But we appreciate all you did. I mean, without you all, you worked behind the scenes. Some of us were out in front of everything, and you all worked behind the scenes and did. Without you all, it couldn't have happened. And we know that, and we appreciate all that you did. And it was fun to see you out there with all your creative decoration for your tree. But next year we will. I think we're going to get you. Next month, we're going to have a meeting, so we're going to get you on the front end this time of planning some of the things so that we won't be, as we were decorating out there, we were saying, hey, come over here, we want to do this too. And he was on the fly doing some things that we had not anticipated. So they're very accommodating and very cordial, and they got as excited as we did about all the things. And James Phillips, I said, you should be up here too. Without James, none of this would have happened either. So I appreciate all you did too. So thank you. Thank you.
Our next recognition is Achievement for Financial Reporting Excellence in 2020, and Vice Mayor George will deliver this recognition.
Come on up with me, Lisa.
You want some ornaments to give up?
Yeah, I can give you an ornament. I don't have any too.
Here's an ornament for you.
I guess the official thing was emailed. And first I'm going to say the things I'm supposed to say because this is not my strong suit to actually say what I'm supposed to. For the 21st consecutive year, the City of Kingsport has been awarded a certificate of achievement for excellence in financing reporting for its annual comprehensive financial report, which is the audit, for 2020 fiscal year. The certificate was awarded by the Governor's Financial Officers Association that was formed in 1906 and represents the public finance officials throughout the United States and Canada. Normally, we receive this recognition in July or August, but because of COVID, we just got this in December. The association review was just all behind. It was not that we weren't great. To receive this award, a government must publish an easily readable and efficiently organized annual comprehensive financial report. The report must satisfy both generally accepted accounting principles and applicable legal requirements. In addition, the report must contain more than just a basic financial statement. It also has to have an introductory section, the financial section, the statistical section, which is my favorite, and the compliance section. By any measure, any citizen can rest assured that the board and the staff have safeguarded the assets that have been placed in their care. The city wants to thank the following people for their tireless work on this audit. Obviously, City Recorder Lisa Winkle for all she does. The accounting supervisors, Kathy Carver, Scott Lanessa, and Christy Bimbrick. Senior accountant Jackie Presnell, and accountants Cheryl Toney, Connie Miller, Wendy Davis, and Beth Cole. And this report, which the audit committee spent at least 2 hours going through page by page by page, and I've got lots of notes, and I know Daryl does too. And then we went over it again today in our meeting, and then we will present it and accept it. But, you know, I think sitting on this council and being a part of the audit committee year after year, this is something I take for granted. I assume every city had, and every organization had something like this, and that is really not the case. This is really a big deal, and this is a fantastic report. If the citizens that, you know, want to see exactly where we stand as a city, all that information is in here, and it's very easy to find. Lisa does, and her staff do an incredible job preparing, presenting, putting this together in such a way that when we sit there for 2 hours, you know, you really understand the whole financial situation of our city. It is a wonderful report. It's so professional, and I'm so appreciative of you and your staff for what you do. I think this is just above and beyond, and I don't even have an ornament. I mean, Betsy would have given me one. But, you know, I just really hope you all realize how much we appreciate it. And instead, I think if we didn't get this award, we would all just, like, blow our minds because we've gotten it for 21 years. But it's really very impressive. This is great information. I hope the citizens of Kingsport, this is all available to them online pretty soon, if not.
It is.
It is. The statistical data in here is just fascinating. So I hope the citizens that are concerned about where we are and all the things we're doing go online and pull up this great data. So big thank you to our whole accounting department.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to say anything? Do you want to go through? Because Chris shortened your time. Do you want to call up some page numbers for us to look at real quick?
No, but I would like to thank the audit committee. Not everybody has as involved audit committee as we do. And also particularly thank them for being willing to schedule last-minute time during the holidays to go over the review every year.
Well, we're glad to do it. I mean, I love the data, so.
When I said I look forward, Lisa, to your presentation, not because that I am that interested in the numbers, but it's apparent that you love what you do, and it shows in this document that you take a lot of pride in what you do.
It is. It's of course, I love the data, so I'm just like obsessed with it. I actually will read this. Scary, huh?
All right, we have no appointments, so we'll move on to the approval of minutes. You have one from the work session on December 20th, 2021, and the business meeting on December 21st, 2021. We'd ask that you approve these minutes as submitted, please.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to approve both the work session and the business meeting minutes as announced by the city manager?
So move.
Moved by Alderman Montgomery. Is there a second? Second. Second by Alderman. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 7-0. Next item.
Next item is a public hearing. This is consideration of an ordinance to amend zoning of a portion of parcel 3, tax map 120, located off Breckenridge Trace from R1B Residential District to PD Planned Development District, and Ken Weems will walk us through the public hearing.
Thank you, Chris. This site is in the southern part of our city, off of Breckenridge Trace. And as you can see from the vicinity map there, it's between the end of Eastern Star Road and Fordtown Road is where the site is. It's an owner requested rezoning of 40 acres from the current zone of R1B to PD zone. We last took some rezoning action on this site back in July of 2020, and at the time, that's when we installed the R1B zone. But the builder that will be building the homes in this site, they're looking at a little bit wider model than what the setbacks in an R1B zone can handle, so they made the request to have it rezoned to PD, and staff feels very comfortable with that. The plan's always been single-family homes, and that's what it is today. No change in the layout of the lots or anything like that. The Planning Commission, they voted to send a positive recommendation to the board, and the public hearing notice was published on January 3rd. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board might have.
Thank you. Board, do you have any questions?
And how many homes did you say this was?
It's a total of 95.
95
Yes,
homes.
ma'am.
Okay.
95 single-family.
Have you received any citizen objections?
No, sir, I have not had any comment at all.
Okay. Board? If the board doesn't have any other questions or requests for clarification, then I declare that we now have a public hearing open to consider this item. If there's someone from the public that would like to come up and comment or ask questions about it, please come forward. If no one wishes to come forward, then I declare that the public hearing is over. And Mr. Attorney, please publish the ordinance.
An ordinance to further amend the zoning code text and map to rezone property located along Breckenridge Trace from R1B Residential District to PD Planned Development District in the 14th Civil District of Sullivan County, to fix a penalty for the violation of this ordinance and to fix the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. I remind the public that this is a first reading of an ordinance that will require 2 readings to pass. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by the Vice Mayor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Phillips. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 7-0. Mr. City Manager, I see next we're in the public comments section. During this part of our proceedings, citizens may come forward and speak on items on the agenda. Now, the agenda are always available in the hallway right before you enter the room. And you would come to the podium, state your name and address, and sign the register that's provided. You're encouraged to keep your comments non-personal in nature, and they should be limited to 5 minutes. A total of 30 minutes is allocated for public comment during this part of the agenda. And again, it's only comment on items that are on our agenda. There is a period later on in our proceedings where you can comment on items of general public interest. So are there any citizens that wish to come forward to talk about this agenda? If not, we'll proceed. Mr. City Manager.
Next item is consideration of a resolution to enter into a contractual agreement and sign all necessary documents with the Tennessee Department of Transportation for reimbursement of annual operation expenses for fiscal 21-22. This is an agreement between Tcat and the Kingsport Area Transit Service. Again, this provides our operating funds. You can see the spreadsheet that's within the agenda there that shows the local match for the city of Kingsport. Again, this is just for operations. Capital would be a separate agreement. And so we'd ask that the board move forward with approval of the resolution and approval of the ordinance, please.
Thank you. And because there is a resolution and an ordinance, we'll proceed one at a time with 2 different motions. Mr. Attorney, please read the resolution.
A resolution approving a reimbursement contract with the Tennessee Department of Transportation for the city's transit system operating expenditures fiscal year 2021-2022, and authorizing the mayor to execute the contract and all other documents necessary and proper to effectuate the purpose of the contract.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Moved by Alderman Duncan. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Montgomery. Is there any discussion of the resolution? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 7-0. Mr. Attorney, please publish the ordinance.
An ordinance to amend urban mass transit capital grant Fund budget for the year ending June 30, 2022, and to fix the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the ordinance?
So moved.
Moved by Alderman Cooper. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by the Vice Mayor. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes 7-0. Next item, Mr. City Manager.
Next item is consideration of a budget adjustment ordinance for various funds in fiscal '22. As is the case with most of our budget adjustments throughout the year, we're looking at moving projects around, closing projects, reallocating dollars for bids. One thing I do want to highlight here in the last paragraph, this part of what this ordinance does is takes in to the city the $500,000 that Domtar promised during the pilot agreement for the new Scott Adams Skate Park. So greatly appreciate that. They're an outstanding corporate citizen. We're glad to see the work progressing on their site. Just before Christmas, they dropped that check off, and so we'll put it in here now. We'll probably come back to you in March. We'll make some adjustments to move that back out and allocate it for something associated with the Brickyard area.
Thank you. This item and the next three items after it are all ordinances on second reading, which means we'll require a roll call vote.
This is first reading.
This one is first reading?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, well, the ones after it are second reading. And let me just pause then and do what I always do. If it looks like we're speeding through these, we're not, because every individual on the board has already been through these one-on-one with the city manager and had most of their questions or concerns addressed. Then we have a work session after the individual meetings where we have more time to discuss. And then finally, by the time we get to this meeting, most of our questions have been answered, so we're able to move right along. Please publish, Mr. Attorney.
An ordinance to amend various fund budgets for the year ending June 30, 2022, and to fix the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by the Vice Mayor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Phillips. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes 7-0. Mr. City Manager.
All right, next item is consideration of an ordinance to amend the fiscal '22 general purpose school fund budget. This item is before you on second and final reading. We'd ask that you approve the ordinance, please.
Thank you. Mr. Attorney, please publish.
An ordinance to amend the general purpose school fund budget for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2022, and to fix the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve? So moved. Moved by Alderman Montgomery. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman. Any discussion? If not, Madam Recorder, please take the vote.
Alderman Cooper,
Aye.
Alderman Duncan,
Aye.
Vice Mayor George,
Aye.
Alderman Montgomery,
Aye.
Alderman Alterman, Alderman Phillips,
Aye.
Mayor Schul.
Aye, the item passes 7-0. Next item.
Next item is consideration of a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign all documents necessary to enter into a materials agreement with Magnolia Ridge Development, LLC, related to the Magnolia Ridge Phase 1 development, and an ordinance to appropriate the funds. Again, this is for a materials agreement for new housing development. It's coming to you on second and final reading. We'd ask that you approve the ordinance, please.
Before I ask him to publish, we're up to over 3,000 new homes somewhere in the pipeline within the next 3 years.
Yeah, we're probably just under that, conservative number is probably around 2,500.
2,500.
That are in some phase of development, whether they are, as we discussed tonight with Miller Park, beginning the construction phase, or if they're a little further down the road, such as these with materials agreement. But yes, we've got several out there, a lot of development occurring, a lot of growth.
But yeah, and new ones keep popping up, so it's a running total.
Yep.
Mr. Attorney, please publish.
An ordinance to amend the water and sewer project funds by transferring funds to the Magnolia Ridge Phase 1 materials agreement projects, WA 2258 and SW 2258, and to fix the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Alderman Duncan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by the Vice Mayor. Any discussion? If not, please take the vote.
Alderman Cooper,
Aye.
Alderman Duncan,
Aye.
Vice Mayor George,
Aye.
Alderman Montgomery,
Aye.
Alderman Ulterman, Alderman Phillips,
Aye.
Mayor Schul.
Aye, the item passes 7-0. Next item.
Next item is consideration of a resolution to authorize the mayor to sign all documents necessary to enter into a materials agreement with Integrity Building Group LLC related to the Miller Park Phase 3 development and an ordinance to appropriate the funds. Again, this is another materials agreement. It's coming to you on second and final reading. We'd ask that you approve the ordinance, please.
Thank you. Mr. Attorney, please publish.
An ordinance to amend the water and sewer project funds by transferring funds to the Miller Park Phase 3 Materials Agreements Project, WA 2257 and SW 2257, and to fix the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Moved by Alderman Montgomery. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Phillips. Is there any discussion? If not, please take the vote.
Alderman Cooper, Alderman Duncan, Vice Mayor George,
Aye.
Alderman Montgomery,
Aye.
Alderman Ulterman, Alderman Phillips,
Aye.
Mayor Schul.
Aye, the item passes 7-0. Next item.
Next item is consideration of a resolution to authorize the mayor to sign all documents necessary to enter into a materials agreement with Carla Karst related to the Cox Valley development and an ordinance to appropriate the funds. Again, this is another materials agreement and comes to you on second and final reading. We ask that you approve the ordinance, please.
Thank you. Mr. Attorney, please publish.
An ordinance to amend the water and sewer project funds by transferring funds to the Cox Valley Materials Agreement projects, WA 2259 and SW 2259, and to fix the effective date of this ordinance.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Alderman Phillips. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Duncan. Any discussion? If not, please take the vote.
Alderman Cooper,
Abstain.
Alderman Duncan,
Aye.
Vice Mayor George,
Aye.
Alderman Montgomery,
Aye.
Alderman Ulterman, Alderman Phillips,
Aye.
Mayor Schul.
Aye, it passes with 6 positive votes and 1 abstention. Next item.
Next item is consideration of a resolution awarding the bid for contracted truck hauling. You'll remember this, we did a similar item a little over a year ago. This is an efficiency that was developed out of the Streets and Sanitation Division led by Tim Elsey. This really has to do with a lot of this paving that we'll self-perform, our ability to contract with these trucks. These haulers allows us to really, when we go in to pave a road, make that a lot more efficient in terms of the progress and the process. So again, your action here tonight simply sets this up to where if we need to, we'll be able to utilize these, and really the location of the work will kind of dictate where, and also their availability.
Mr. City Manager, I'm going to throw you off the subject just slightly, but you know, with this cold weather, potholes develop.
Yes.
And potholes are really a different subject from paving a whole street or road or so forth.
Yeah.
And your public works can address potholes pretty quickly through people contacting them through a Connect Kingsport or other ways, right?
Right, the best thing to do if you notice a pothole on your street, and that may have occurred with the recent cold weather that we've had, easiest thing to do is download the Connect Kingsport app, wherever you purchase your apps from, Google Play or through the App Store with Apple. Download that, walk through that, you get the exact location. That notifies the department responsible for whatever you enter in immediately, and they will go out and address the situation. So surprisingly or not, it's even faster than calling you, Mayor.
Yeah, it is. That's a good point. Alderman Duncan uses it every day, I'm sure.
I use it some, and I tell you, it works. I mean, the response time on that is immediate. It's great.
Yeah, I've heard you tell people that. Okay, Mr. Attorney, please publish.
A resolution awarding bids for the purchase of contracted truck hauling on an as-needed basis for FY 2023 to 5 bidders and authorizing the city manager to execute purchase orders for the same.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Alderman Duncan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by the Vice Mayor. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes 7-0. Mr. City Manager.
Next item is consideration of a resolution authorizing an application to the Tennessee Department of Transportation State Industrial Access, or SIA program, for the Meadow Park Lane extension. We went through a fairly extensive presentation during the work session, and really going back over the last several years, this has been a conversation that the city has had in concert with Eastman regarding a new road that would be built, or what we would refer to as a state industrial access road. And really, this has been set up from day one to look at really how do we expand, or how do we assist through this grant to expand industrial land development for Eastman as they go through the methanolysis project. Greatly appreciated during our work session earlier, having C.G. McCord walk through very detailed presentation of a lot of the things that Eastman is looking at, and a lot of the investments that they're looking to make in Kingsport, which I think is extremely important. As we have said over the last couple of years, it's great to see our legacy industries reinvesting within the city of Kingsport. And so with that said, I'm going to turn this over to Ryan McReynolds, who's our deputy city manager, and he's been working very closely with this project really for quite some time. And Ryan, I'll kind of let you summarize where we're at this point.
All right, and CG did walk through kind of all the different investments over the past 10, 12, 13 years, and the project has kind of evolved with them, and we've finally ended up in a very good spot. We began with relocating Jared to Janway. We presented to the board about 2 years ago a relocation of Jared along the sluice. Both of those actually didn't add in any industrial property. Both had pretty heavy impacts to the existing industrial property, and some were very heavy in construction cost and property acquisition. So this past, probably about a year ago, we all regrouped together and really looked at how can we maximize the investment TDOT's going to make to open up industrial property and to provide an asset to the citizens of Kingsport. And we came up with this route. So this is the Meadow Park Lane that would extend from the new road that's behind the Aquatic Center, ECU, and go all the way to Riverport Road. And in this, Jared Drive would be closed, which would allow Eastman to continue to expand their industrial processes and invest in the future. And but really key to this is the opening up of about 108 acres of industrial and business property, and that's really the intent of an SIA. It also improves the access to West Kingsport from the interstate and the Meadowview area. So this slide gets into the kind of nuts and bolts about the value this provides the city of Kingsport, and you can see more of detail of how this would lay out. Eastman is chomping at the bit to take certain of their assets that are located along Jared and to move them into this industrial property once the road is built. And so that industrial acreage, we feel like, would be fairly well built out in about a 3-year time frame once it is opened up. And the tax revenue, because this is all inside the city limit, this property is, so that's very valuable to us. The tax revenue that just the city of Kingsport would receive from this investment is about $140,000 a year. That's an estimate based upon existing industrial property in the city. Now, the other neat portion is the business park property that is located closer to ECU and the Aquatic Center. It wouldn't develop in the industrial nature. It'd be more like what you see in the Meadowview area. And the value of that property to the city of Kingsport as far as revenue goes is much higher in the business side. And that's about $11,600 per acre. So we anticipate when that fully develops, about $600,000 worth of revenue a year coming to the city. But we do think that would be in a much longer time frame, more like 15, 20-year time frame. So really, this is a unique opportunity for the city of Kingsport. Eastman had asked us to look at this opportunity, which gives them a lot more ability to expand in the future, to continue, to have a bright future in Kingsport. And then from our side, it really is a great opportunity for the state of Tennessee to invest in a roadway that we will receive benefits, one, from the people that are using the roadway to get to West Kingsport, but then also the business and industry that will begin to be located along this roadway. That was a brief discussion. We talked about this more at length during the work session, but I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Board, does anyone have a question for Mr. McReynolds? If not, Ryan, if you could stand by, because it may come up during our consideration of this. Mr. Attorney, please publish.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to execute all documents necessary and proper to apply for a Tennessee Department of Transportation State Industrial Access Program for the Meadow Park Lane Extension.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Moved by Alderman Montgomery. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by the vice mayor. Now, any discussion?
I think we've talked it to death.
We talked it. Well, let me make a few remarks for our public. This is not new to the board. It's an item that's been percolating for several months, but you might have gotten the flavor from Mr. McReynolds, our deputy city manager, that it's changed, it's gone through different iterations. There's a lot of coordination between us and Eastman, with the state of Tennessee and so forth. There's some inconvenience that would occur in terms of traffic patterns, but I'm giving you an opinion, but in my view, that's minor compared to the gain of enabling Eastman to have more manufacturing space to operate. Eastman, of course, is a worldwide operation. You may have read a really good article in the Times News today about their expansion in France, which makes sense for an entity of their size. It's good to be near your markets. But this is their home, and we like to keep as much of Eastman here as we can. And so I see that this will work out real well in the long run, and we appreciate the work not only of CG and the Eastman team, but with working with TDOT, Tennessee Department of Transportation. Mr. Attorney, did you publish?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you did. We got to vote on it. Yes. Any other discussion?
And this is, in doing this, Eastman would be donating, 21 acres to build this road, is that correct?
That's right.
So-
The 21 acres for the 2.4-mile length of the road.
Good question.
So,
Anything else?
And we're looking at 3 years for this road to be completed, 2 to 3.
Yes, yeah, we feel very comfortable. TDOT's going to be able to work pretty quickly on this project. It's one landowner, and this funding source has got a lot less strings attached to it than others within TDOT. So we feel like within a 2-3 year time frame, we'll see work occurring.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments or questions, board? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 7-0. Thank you, Mr. McReynolds. Please proceed.
Next item is consideration of a resolution authorizing the city manager to issue a purchase order to FL Smith for the repair of the wastewater plant centrifuge. This item came up here about a week ago. Staff approached me about needing to kind of move forward with this on a sole purchase simply because of how unique of a part it is and the need to move quickly. We signed the necessary paperwork and are now asking you all to authorize us to move forward with issuing of that purchase order.
Thank you. Mr. Attorney, please publish.
A resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a purchase order for F.L. Smith for repair of the wastewater plant centrifuge.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by the vice mayor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Duncan. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 7-0. Next item.
Next item is consideration of a resolution awarding the bid for the rental of a Caterpillar PM 312 cold planer roadway milling machine from Stowers Machinery and authorizing the city manager to execute a rental agreement for the same. We do not own a milling machine, and so one of the things we've looked at as we do the self-performing paving to do this in an efficient manner is to look at renting out a milling machine for use by city crews. And so approval of this item will allow us to do so and to have that in place for work during calendar 22.
Ryan didn't ask for one for Christmas, so.
Yeah, no, it wasn't on the Christmas list.
Okay, Mr. Attorney, please publish.
A resolution awarding the bid for the purchase of the rental, for the rental of a Caterpillar PM312 cold planer roadway milling machine to Stowers Machinery Corporation and authorizing the city manager to execute a rental agreement for the same.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Moved by Alderman Montgomery. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Phillips. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes 7-0. Next item.
Next item is consideration of a resolution authorizing the purchase of 104 box lights from Central Technologies, Inc. This is an item that comes to us from the Board of Education. You'll recall last month, you set up the necessary agreement with Sevier County Cooperative Purchasing, and these items are being purchased through the ESSER funds, which have been allocated to Kingsport City Schools. So we'd ask that you approve the resolution authorizing the purchase.
And the ESSER funds are funds granted specifically to the school system directly by the federal government. It's part of the COVID relief.
Right, part of the American Recovery Plan.
Thank you. Mr. Attorney, please publish.
A resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a purchase order for 104 box lights from Central Technologies, Inc. for the Kingsport City School System.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Alderman Duncan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Cooper. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes 7-0. Next item.
Next item is consideration of a resolution approving an agreement with Cane Rash West Architects for architectural and design services for the new Fire Station Number 2 located on Fort Henry Drive. As we discussed, going through the budget process and then again this fall, we've allocated dollars within our capital budget that would go towards the construction design for a new Fire Station 2, which would be built adjacent to the existing fire station. I really appreciate the work that has been done, not only by the fire department, but also by members of the community that participated in the kind of the planning process for this, as well as some of our staff outside of the fire department. I really believe this is a good decision and a good move, thus the reason we're bringing it forward. This design will give us a better idea of our cost. This will also allow us to be able to move this project into the capital funding stage at the appropriate time upon completion. So we'd ask that you approve the resolution.
Yeah, and maybe we ought to refresh the public briefly. When was the fire station built, Chief?
1941.
41, okay. I was trying to give him a little airtime here.
Yeah.
Everybody, this is Chief Scott Boyd, our fire chief. But it was built in 1941, and it's really outdated in terms of use of modern equipment and the way you operate.
Yes, sir. It's, needless to say, it's one of the stations we still have where they sleep above. Currently, it's not in compliance whatsoever with ADA or some of the trucks just don't even fit in the station, which was designated for 1941 trucks. So we have quite a bit of our fleet not even able to be used at that particular station.
When this is all said and done, we'll still have a station on that site, and the coverage area will still be the same.
And we did a study, and it was absolutely the most advantageous for us to stay in that immediate area right there.
Great. Thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Did y'all have any more questions for the chief? If not, Mr. Attorney, please publish.
A resolution approving an agreement with Cane Rash West Architects for architectural and design services for the new Fire Station Number 2 located on Fort Henry Drive, and authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement and all other documents necessary and proper to effectuate the purpose of the agreement.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Moved by Alderman Montgomery. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Mayor. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes 7-0. Next item.
Item is consideration of a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign the concurrence with determination of the de minimis impact to Rock Springs Park for the SR 347 Rock Springs Road project. So we had some conversation about this during our legislative meeting with our state reps. We talked about the desire to move this into the construction funding phase right now. This section of Rock Springs Road is in the right-of-way acquisition phase. That's what has been funded to date by TDOT. They need to take a small portion of the park. It will have no impact on the park, but is necessary for the rebuild of that road. And so we'd ask that you approve this resolution authorizing this.
And the board appreciates your recommendation that we bring it to our state legislators' attention. Mr. Attorney, please publish.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a concurrence with the determination of de minimis impact, the use of a section of Rock Springs Park for the Tennessee Department of Transportation's Rock Springs Road Widening Project, and all other documents necessary and proper to effectuate the purpose of the letter.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Alderman Phillips. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by the vice mayor. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 7-0. Next item.
Next item is the acceptance of the fiscal 21 annual comprehensive financial report. We talked about that a little bit earlier when Vice Mayor recognized Lisa Winkle, but during Lisa's presentation, she really could have got the whole thing out of the way with this one summary slide right here, but she talked about the audit. The auditor's report expresses an unmodified opinion on our financial statements. There were no significant deficiencies related to our financial statements in accordance with the government auditing standards. There's no instances of noncompliance for material to our financial statements. There are no significant deficiencies as it relates to the audit of our major federal awards. And the auditor's report expresses an unmodified opinion on compliance for all major federal programs, and there were no audit findings related to the major programs. So again, it's always what you want to hear. There's a lot of work that goes into that to make that happen. Lisa and her team just do an outstanding job. You also heard tonight from the auditors with Brown Edwards, and they very complimentary, as they have been publicly and privately, of the staff and the work that they do. In summary, you have a very sound, financially managed city of Kingsport. You all as board members are responsible for that, and we appreciate your support, and I appreciate the work that the staff does in all aspects of it. Lisa talked a little bit about the finance department. She also mentioned the purchasing department. There's a whole lot of folks that go into making this happen. And it's, the old saying goes, it doesn't just happen. There's a lot of people that work on this all the time, so we appreciate that. So, Mayor, we'd ask that you accept the annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year ending on June 30, 21.
Commonly referred to as a clean audit. Well, I'm not going to repeat everything you said, but thank you to Lisa and the team. And Brown and Edwards, a professional organization, we appreciate their doing a good job on looking at us. Mr. Attorney, please publish.
It just requires a motion, Mr. Mayor.
Just requires a motion.
Second, a vote.
Okay. Would one of my members like to move acceptance?
I make a motion that we accept the annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2021.
So moved by the vice mayor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Alderman Duncan. Is there any discussion? And thank you to our audit committee. That's Alderman, the vice mayor, Alderman Duncan, and Alderman. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? It passes 7-0. Next item.
All right, now move into the consent agenda. There are 11 items on the agenda. We had one item pulled, so we have 11. I'll read through those. There'll be a brief intermission after item 6. But first is, and again, if you have any of these items that you'd like to be pulled for additional clarification or conversation, please let me know. The first is consideration of a resolution to reject all bids for the mowing and trimming project for Kingsport City Schools. Next item is consideration of a resolution to reject all bids for the landscape maintenance service project for the Kingsport City Schools. Next item is consideration of a resolution ratifying the mayor's signature on the certification of local official that the Public Housing Authority plans are consistent with the consolidated plan. This is for the Community Development Block Grant Program. Next item is consideration of a resolution ratifying an application for the Tennessee Arts Commission Special Opportunities Grant, and if awarded, authorizing the mayor or his designee to sign any and all documents necessary to receive the grant. Next item is consideration of a resolution ratifying an application for a Tennessee Arts Commission Partnership Support Grant, and authorizing the mayor to perform any and all actions necessary and proper to receive the grant. Next item is the consideration of a resolution to enter in an agreement with the Tennessee Main Street Program. Next item is approval of offers for easement and right-of-way for the ETSU Eastman Valley Brook campus facility. Next item is consideration of a resolution approving a propane tank lease agreement with AmeriGas Propane for the new fire training facility at 250 Horse Creek Lane. Next item is consideration of a resolution authorizing an application for and to receive the Tennessee Agricultural Enhancement Program grant. Next item is consideration of a resolution to amend the Kingsport weapons policy for employees. And the last item is consideration of a resolution authorizing the mayor to accept a Microsoft software license terms and conditions for the acquisition of Microsoft 365 licenses. So those are the 11 items that make up the consent agenda. Again, if the board would like any pulled for additional discussion, I'd be happy to do so.
Thank you. Are there any members that would like to pull one or more items for separate discussion and deliberation? If not, do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda of all 11 items as presented.
Thank you. Moved by the vice mayor. Is there a second? Second by Alderman. Is there any discussion? If not, Madam Recorder, please take the vote.
Alderman Cooper,
Aye to all 11.
Alderman Duncan,
Aye to all.
Vice Mayor George,
Aye to all.
Alderman Montgomery,
Aye to all 11.
Alderman Alterman,
Aye to all.
Alderman Phillips,
Aye to all.
Mayor Schul.
Aye to all 11 items, therefore all 11 pass 7-0. Mr. City Manager.
All right, we now move into the communications section of the agenda. I'll start with a couple items first, and I'm probably stealing this from you all, so I'll apologize in advance. But really appreciate the work that Christy Leonard has done with the Kingsport Farmers Market. Just the other day, I let you all know that once again, we received the Best Farmers Market in East Tennessee. An outstanding job that she does, working with those vendors, working with the community. In fact, tonight you had a grant on your agenda to, if awarded, provide funding for communication and various marketing that we do to support that market. So great work, outstanding. She's already working on the opening of the market here this spring, so we're excited about that. Second thing I'll mention, and maybe something as you look at the extended forecast, maybe mentioning often, but just a huge thank you to our city crews that come in, mobilize, go out and clean the roads. We have 24, we got 12-hour shifts, crews coming in, working around the clock. In addition to the folks in streets and sanitation that come in, we also have folks from the fleet department that come in. They also will work 2 12-hour shifts. It's necessary to help maintain that equipment. But Kingsport has a long history of maintaining the roads. I remember when John Campbell was city manager, he talked a lot about it and how he would talk to other cities across the state about it. And it really began with just our need to get the industries open. And so the need to get the roads cleaned and allow those workers to get there was always was pressing and what drove that. But those guys are leaving their families. It seems like it's always on a weekend or a holiday or in the middle of the night, but I do appreciate them and appreciate the work they've done. And maybe this was the only one. I know there's school kids throughout the city hoping it's not, but they will be back at it when need be.
Well, you and I spoke today, living in the shadow of the mountains, we might have 1 inch on one end of town, the other end of town get 3 inches, But basically your strategy is you work on the main roadways, the most heavily traveled roadways, then move out, I guess.
Correct.
Correct. Okay. Well, they have a good crew, and believe you me, if we have a heavier snowfall, they'll work as long as they need to get it cleared. Before I go around the room, let me welcome a latecomer to our meeting, Commissioner Mark Vance from the Sullivan County Commission. Good to see you, Mark. Alderman Montgomery, Paul.
Oh, let me add my congratulations to Lisa Winkle and Audit Committee for the work well done. And seems like you've got a strain of completions and achievements, so look forward to hearing next year's as well. Also, kudos to Eastman Chemical Company with announcement today. It's an exciting day in Kingsport for Eastman to have expansion internationally as well as here. And in saying that, is one of the former employees has joined the HR staff in Tara Copus. Welcome to the City of Kingsport's staff. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Paul. James.
Not much, but I just want to echo what everybody else has said about Lisa and her team, and then also the grounds crew, that maintenance crew that handled the Christmas in the park. They just can't say enough good things about how great they were to work with. And to Betsy's point, they literally came out at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning one morning to check the lights before their shift started. So, I mean, they were dedicated and everybody had a great time with it. Couple of important dates, chronological order. January 25th is the Carousel Reunion, and so that's really exciting. I think they're going to have something for Reggie Martin there that day. I believe it's at 2 o'clock. I'll need to confirm that, but I think it's at 2 or 3 o'clock. And anybody that carved animals is coming. I had Landry over riding the carousel the other day, and Jay was telling us that they had people coming back from that had moved to like, Phoenix or wherever, that had carved animals and had moved far away. They were coming back for this, so I think that's really neat, and that'll be a really neat celebration and definitely a great way to honor Reggie there that day. And then lastly, I talked a little bit about it at our last meeting before Christmas, and I got the okay to say what I was going to say then, but we are having a ribbon cutting at the new Tcat facility on February 28th, and this is such a big deal to the city of Kingsport and to this region that the governor will be attending the ribbon cutting. And so I think that is just goes to show what, what has been accomplished over there in a short time. We had our Homebuilders Meeting there last week. It was a wonderful meeting, and, the thing that we kept driving home that just blows your mind is 8 months ago, this wasn't a thing. And then a couple phone calls and a couple people saying they needed help in the construction field. GRC needed help in certain things. 8 months later, we have a Tcat construction program going that is partnered with Northeast State and ETSU. So that's, and Dobbins-Bennett. So that is just incredible, and I think it goes to show how incredible it is that the governor's coming up here for the ribbon cutting on February 28th. So excited about that, and that's all I've got.
Thank you. Tommy?
I guess I've got one small thing. Dobbins-Bennett's going to be playing. They were to play tonight, and I think it was canceled, and last night was canceled. So be on the lookout. They're playing good.
Yeah.
And I look for them to go all the way.
The boys all the way. The girls are coming on strong, though.
Other girls, too.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Tommy. Daryl?
Well, the city manager did steal my thunder there on Chris. Yeah, I know, on Christy Leonard and the farmer's market, and it was funny because we were just discussing that just really before the meeting of what a great asset the farmer's market is too. So it's used for so many things, not just the farmer's market, but everything from weddings to receptions to everything in between. Lamplight Theater has got Foggy Valley Gang, Sipping the Tea. It's currently playing. Check the website for times and dates for that. We was talking about the city crews getting the snow and just being so diligent about that. But they did that without missing a beat on garbage pickup too. So that's something to be said about our city crews. They are just top notch. And then, of course, congratulations to Lisa. It just reflects the transparency that we have come to know and really just kind of, like the mayor said, that we've gotten used to over the past 21 years. But it's just transparency in that. You can look at everything you can imagine in that. And I'm like Colette, it's just, it's great to have that meeting and just kind of dissect it like we do. So that was good. And then the festivities for the parade, the luncheon, the candlelight vigil for Martin Luther King has been moved to February the 5th. So that's on a Saturday. I look forward for that. I've attended that for a number of years, and it's great. So look forward for a good turnout for that. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Betsy?
Well, by the time you get to me, everything's been said, because I was going to talk about Martin Luther King, on the 5th. I think at 11:15 is when the parade starts. They gather at the corner of East Sevier, or East Sevier Avenue and East Center Street. And I think we've talked about Christmas in the Park till we've we've mentioned it for the last 3 months. But Michael Borders and Christy Leonard, we talked about her with the farmers market, but she played such a vital role in the Christmas in the Park also. So I appreciate her. I don't know if I recognized her earlier.
Yeah, Betsy, may I interrupt a second? We've mentioned Christy Leonard several times. Our citizens need to know, she not only runs the farmers market, but if you have a special event that you want to coordinate, she's the person that does it with the city, and she touches the various departments, whether it be fire department, police, Parks and Rec, and so, like for instance, the Martin Luther King parade that we're going to have, that Christy coordinates those type of things. So she's a really outstanding, active city employee.
And she's so much fun. I said
She's fun, yeah.
I got to know her when we were decorating the statue in the middle of, I don't know what he's called, the octopus man. We called him a lot of things, in the middle of the fountain, and she's just fun to work with, and never says no. Everything that we mentioned to her, her first thing was okay, and then she would go figure out how to do it and come back to us. But she was fun to work with. So I appreciate her, and not only the farmers market, but everything else that she touches in Kingsport. We haven't met since the new year, so I hope everyone's new year got off to a happy start, and look forward to all the things that are going to happen in Kingsport in 2022.
Thank you. Vice?
Well, I think that Daryl's tree and my tree fell down the most at the farmer's market, or at the Christmas park, so hopefully ours will be staked better next year. But
Michael's already on that.
Michael's on it, I know. He's 12-month planning for this, right?
We're having our first meeting in a couple of weeks.
As I said, by the time you get here, a lot of it's been said. I do want to thank CG for coming down and making the presentation, giving us some information on what Eastman is thinking, and I know it's a project we've worked on a long time, and I think the direction we're going is a very good direction, so I'm glad we've ended up where we've ended up. And I think, we've all talked about the audit and what a great job Lisa does, and I said it really is a wonderful report, and I hope everybody spends some time going through it, because the statistics and the history and just the transparency, as Daryl said. And when you really go page by page, and she can take you page by page and tell you what's on every single one and what's going from one page to another, which is just amazing, and it is it's a great document. So I'm glad to have that for our citizens, and it's been a great year, and that's all I've got. I appreciate that my roads weren't icy and I could get to work yesterday.
Yeah. Well, Mr. City Manager, we're driven by this budget cycle. Even though we're starting a new calendar year, we're in the middle of the budget year, so it's I guess we celebrate 2 New Years in a way. But the point is, we went through a calendar year 2021. The entire year was we had COVID we were dealing with, and I admire the way the city staff continue to do what they do, and from the, people in Public Works, the Parks and Rec, you name it, up to folks who work in this building. We just kept keeping on, I guess. But we have a challenging year ahead, but I'm very encouraged by the trends. We've got trends that have developed now. People are moving to Kingsport, our population's growing, we are building new homes. The city is help facilitating that. We don't make the economy happen, but we can certainly help businesses grow and people get a better life, like the James mentioned with the Tcat. That's a really big deal. So I'm looking forward to this year. There's some challenges with inflation and so forth, but I think we're in the right direction. With that, let me say that we've come to the part where citizens can approach the board and speak on issue-oriented items. When you come to the podium, please state your name and address and sign the register that is provided. We ask people to do that because they may bring up something that we didn't know about, and it helps the staff to be able to get a hold of them, have their phone number and address. You're encouraged to keep your comments non-personal in nature, and they should be limited to 5 minutes. And as much as Tommy and I'd like to discuss UT basketball, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about things that are directly related to civic affairs in the city. So is anyone that wishes to come forward, approach the board? If not, Happy New Year. We're adjourned.
Thank you for joining us tonight for the Kingsport BMA meeting. This program has been a production of the City of Kingsport in cooperation with Milligan Productions, Milligan University, and Charter Communications. For more information, visit kingsporttn.gov.